What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today I will be reviewing a beer from the Two Roads Brewing Company, and they are out of Stratford, Connecticut, and this is their Holiday Ale, the 2021 release. So they are calling this one a Bière de Noël, which is a subset style of the French farmhouse style Bière de Garde. It comes in at 7.3% alcohol by volume, no IBUs listed in time of review. I don't know exactly how old this can is, but it does have a best by date of April 5th of 2022. We're about 4.5 months from that date, so we should be fine. So Bière de Garde is a style that not a lot of American breweries brew. I've had a handful of them in my life, but I've never reviewed one. And Bière de Noël is apparently like a slightly more malt forward kind of subset style of that. So yeah, I don't think they're brewing this one with spices. I think the spices are kind of from the phenols from the yeast, but we'll see. Anyway, really excited to give this one a go. I've always had my eye on this one pretty much over the last 3 or 4 years, just haven't picked it up until this year. So we'll see how it is. I'm using my tulip here. Now, I haven't used this one in quite a while. I washed it out, so hopefully no dirty glass mafia. We will see. Might be though, I don't know. I usually wash them out pretty good, and usually we don't. And I always say that like, oh, watch out for dirty glass mafia, and then it doesn't happen. So we'll see if it happens here. If it does, it does, whatever, no big deal. Yeah, it looks fine. So this pours out this really nice copper color. Has like an orange coppery kind of tone. It's gonna be a little bit darker on camera. It has about a, what we'll say about a, yeah, straight up 2 finger, maybe 2.5 finger of this, I would say light tan colored head. Some huge bubbles mixed in there. Looks fine. Kind of looks like caramel, honestly, in a glass. Let's get a nose. Oh yes, a lot of malt. Yeah, so there's caramel, there's toffee, caramelized sugars. There's a little bit like a slight funkiness going on. Almost copper coin-esque too, to the malt. Probably coming from the hops, honestly. Yeah, caramel, toffee. Not really getting any spice. This has actually been on the fridge for like 45 minutes. There's chill haze on here, but down here it's like 60 degrees, so. I mean, that should be like 50, 55. Yeah, I'm just getting caramel, toffee, kind of brown sugar, a little of the copper coin, probably from the hops. Not really getting any spiciness to speak of, whether it's from spices thrown in here, which, again, this is not brewed with spices, I'm almost positive, or from the yeast itself. Maybe a slight, like, raisin dried cherry thing. Yeah, to be honest with you, it just doesn't, there's not a lot going on here. There's some caramelized sugars, a little bit of dried fruit. That's pretty much it. Doesn't smell bad, just it's not all that complex or really impactful. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. You know what this actually reminds me of? This reminds me of the, not exactly, but the Anderson Valley Winter Solstice beer. This has big vibes like that, like a lot of sweeter malt, caramelized sugar, a lot of malt character here. Body, this is like medium body, 7.3%. That's nice. The mouthfeel, it's spritzy on the palate, but it's not overly done. It's like moderately carbonated. There's a smooth finish to this one. So body and mouthfeel are nice. The taste, I'm starting to get, it's going to sound weird, but we'll go one more taste and then I'll say what I was going to say because kind of weird. Right at the forefront, it's bready, slightly doughy, caramel, toffee, brown sugar, caramelized sugar, maybe a touch of molasses. You could really say any kind of caramelized sugar, really, and probably be right. But right after that, I'm hit with red licorice, like a red licorice kind of sweetness. Halfway through the palate, an earthiness hits. That's where I'm saying in the nose is more copper coin. In the taste, it's just like a generic earthiness. There's a very slight spicy kind of character here. And I wouldn't say I could describe the spice exactly. I go, oh, that's nutmeg, or that's cinnamon, or that's allspice. It says like a generic like yeast kind of phenolic kind of spiciness. Very generic though. Maybe like a coriander type of thing, or maybe like a clove, but more coriander, I would say, if I had to guess. Yeah, that red licorice is real cool, real different for me. Not something that I get in a lot of beers. The finish, there's really no bitterness here. Maybe a very mild bitterness if I'm stretching. It has a semi-dry finish, but this is definitely leans sweeter, but it's sweeter in like an adult sense. And what I mean by that is like when you have like an adult type of, or like a more robust, sophisticated kind of like dessert, it's more decadent and rich as opposed to like just straight on candied confectionery sweetness. It's like there's a difference between like a rich, decadent dessert and a candy. Like, you know, there's a difference between, you know, eating a Mounds bar and then eating some kind of like chocolate coconut cake or something, right? It's not the same. So while this is sweet, it's a different type of sweetness for me. I like it. I like it. Is it amazing or anything? No, kind of like that Anderson Valley. It's not anything like I'd go nuts about, but like, does this impart the holiday kind of spirit? I think it does. I think, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of, and a lot of times, American styles kind of take a certain, when it comes to beer, takes other aspects too, but mostly beer. When they take a European style and kind of bastardize it to the point where it's like, we're going to take your style, but then we're going to completely go ham, throw adjuncts, all kinds of crazy hops and malts and this and that. And then you turn it into a style that kind of not at its core the same as the old style. Winter Warmer is one of those beers, or one of those styles where Winter Warmers, like English Winter Warmers, were just like maltier, slightly bigger ABV beers, and then we come to the States and we just throw all kinds of fucking spices into them. Like, oh, I got cinnamon and nutmeg, all the pumpkin spices that they, you know, then kind of reuse for the winter spices. This is like an old school English winter warmer, where you're getting all the malt is kind of doing the work here with the yeast. You know, the core four is doing the work as opposed to any kind of spices or adjuncts thrown in here. And they're doing them quite well. Kind of in the same vein of that Anderson Valley Winter Solstice, where I'm getting a big malt presence here, and it's not overly sweet. It's not too much. It's pretty fucking good in general. Is it anything amazing? No. I think the average beer drinker will pick this up and be like, oh, that's super malty, and that'll be it. And they might love it. They might not, depending on how much they enjoy malt forward beers. For me, I'm a guy that loves fucking hop forward beers and crazy fucking New England style and West Coast IPAs and blah, blah, blah. But I can get down with something like this because at my heart, in my heart of hearts, I love like English barley wines and old ales and stuff like that. So this is like a mini version of those. That's kind of what I said about the Winter Solstice, where it's like a lighter barley wine. And that's kind of like this, a lighter barley wine, lighter lighter old ale. You're talking about, you know, 3, 4, 5, 6% difference. This is like a sessionable old ale or something, you know. Not much more to say about it. It's good. I enjoy it. I have no problems throwing the rest of this one back. And yeah, we're going to give it appropriate rating. So I'm going to give Holiday Ale, the 2021 release from Two Roads, I'm going to give a high 3.75 out of 5 and go 3.85 out of 5. Why? Because I can. It's well made. It's good. It's one that if I was in the mood for like a more sessionable kind of malt forward beer that I know doesn't have a crazy price point and availability is good, I would grab this again. So price point availability, I think I paid like $2.29 for that can. I want to say 6 packs of this were like 12 to 14 bucks. So for something that's 7.3%, pretty solid, 3.85 out of 5, you're talking like $2 to $2.50 a can. That's a great deal, in my opinion. And then availability, wherever you see Two Roads, you probably should see this one. If you get Two Roads distribution, this one probably has shown up in the last month, maybe month and a half or so. Yeah, if you've had this one before, let me know what you think about 7.3%. There's no warming, there's no alcohol stringency, there's nothing that would indicate like any kind of alcohol feeling, whether it's on the palate or inside your chest, into the stomach sometimes. But tasting it and knowing the flavor profile and whatnot, yeah, I'd guess this is probably around 7%, maybe even 7.5%. So it doesn't like hide the alcohol, but like I don't think a beer like this necessarily needs to, if that makes sense. So not much more to say about it. If you've had this one before or have had a prior vintage of it, let me know what you think about it. Very interesting. I was hoping a little bit more from the yeast. I thought like maybe the yeast would produce more of like a spicy kind of sensation on the palate. I got a little bit of coriander and that's it. Whatever, not a big deal. I like the beer as is. So appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. To the next one. Cheers.